Welcome to Study Life. In this session of atomic and nuclear physics, we are going to learn about the Bohr's quantization condition. What is Bohr's quantization condition? Remember our second postulate? Yes. Our second postulate said that electron won't revolve in any random orbit. Electron revolves only in certain selected orbits where it does not have to release any energy. That is, with the help of this condition, he said that if the angular momentum is equal to nh upon 2 pi, this thing is going to happen. Electrons will be revolving in those orbits where it does not have to release any energy. The question now comes, how does he how did he understand this concept? This is solely based upon the concept of dimensions. If you look into the dimension of Planck's constant, that is very much equivalent to the dimension of angular momentum. So that was the very frontier for all this story to come up to the surface. Bohr simply imagined the story, did a few calculations with the help of other physicists and mathematicians, and made up this formula. The second person who contributed in the formation of this entire story was Balmer. This man Balmer did a good research into the atomic spectrum of hydrogen. We're going to learn in our further lectures. We're going to learn about this person in a very nice manner. But until then, I just want you people to know that he exists. He was a mathematician and he observed a very simple thing. Whenever light or any form of energy strikes an atom, the electrons in its surface kind of move up to an excited state and come down. So when they come down, they kind of release some amount of energy. So when they release this energy, he observed that when electrons of second orbit moved up to the higher orbit and came back to the second orbit, the released energy waves, those were visible to the eye. That means they emitted visible radiations. And when asked about the wavelength of this visible radiations, he gave a very specific formula. He said that the wavelength of these energy waves emitted is equal to Cn square divided by n square minus 4, provided the values of n is anything but more than 2 in the form of integers. That means it can be from 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, anything. It should not be any fraction and it should not be any value like 2, 1 or 0. It has to be more than 3 or equal to 3. Only integers. There was another man by the name de Broglie, the smartest person according to me. I'm just being sarcastic, but he was someone who did his work on a very smart basis. What did he say? He said that everything in this nature loves symmetry. In the era when everyone is confused about waves and particles, people assume that everything in this nature is either a wave or is it either a particle. De Broglie said, why make them two parts? Just combine them. Everything in this nature is both a wave and a particle. And he created one very simple formula. We are going to learn about this later. I'll just simply state it. We are not going to derive it now. He said that lambda, the wavelength of this particle, is nothing but h upon mv. Look at this. This is a very beautiful formula. We're going to learn about it later, but as of now, I'm going to combine this and this. See how do I do this? I'll just consider this mvr is equal to nh upon 2 pi. I'm going to shift this 2 pi from here to over here and this mv from here to here. So this becomes 2 pi r becomes equal to nh upon mv. What is h upon mv? Lambda according to de Broglie, right? So let me just write it down. 2 pi r is equal to n lambda. What does this mean? So imagine if this is my circular orbit. If this is my circular orbit and electrons are revolving in this orbit. If let's say it is my fifth orbit. So I will observe that there will be 5 waves forming in this orbit. These waves will be later called as matter waves. Sorry for the asymmetry, but this is how I'll get 5 waves. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So that is what Bohr's quantization condition is. And this is how we identify and get the Bohr second postulate. In fact, the most important postulate proposed by Bohr. If this is obeyed by an orbit, the orbit will be named as Bohr orbits or else stationary orbits. So I suppose everybody has now understood the Bohr quantization condition and see how has it evolved in our future sessions. Okay? So I suppose everybody is kind of done with Bohr's quantization condition and ready to do the future lectures with me on Study Live. Thank you.